I'm joined today by Sue, and I'll let Sue introduce herself, and I'll let Bernie introduce himself as well.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. My name is Sue. My last name is John. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm the principal of Diversity at Workplace Consulting Group. We do exactly what the name implies. We work with organizations to diversify their workforce, create inclusive norms and equitable processes, and I'm very, very happy to be here.
Good morning, I'm Bernie Borges, and wonderful to be with all of you. I am the founder and CEO of the Fulfilled at Work Academy, and likewise, the name says what we do. We work with organizations to drive intentional fulfillment, personal and professional fulfillment in the workplace, so that employees are engaged and we can reduce turnover and maximize productivity.
Okay, great. So that was a lot of words and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's break this down and let's get into what the heck does that mean in today's environment, in today's work environment, the ecosystem that people are in. We heard the previous panel talk about how they deal with problems or challenges or opportunities in the workplace, and I love the fact that they talked about confronting it head on. You know, letting it sit there and fester, that's not a good thing.
Right.
So that's where I'd like to start. So what do you think should be done to deal with the ecosystem and the workplace and all of the things that are happening? I'll go to you first, Sue.
Ooh, so I would say at the workplace, we have to acknowledge that all this stuff is happening. And gone are those days where we sort of assume we leave stuff at home and we come to work without all that stuff. And that's not true. A lot of us work from home, a lot of us are hybrid, but even if we had to come into the office every single day, we have smartphones, we see headlines, it's impossible not to carry all that's happening in your head into the workplace. In fact, there is extensive studies that show that workers are more anxious than ever before. They're anxious because of job security concerns. They hear about layoffs every 2 seconds, including the federal government, right? The second is they're anxious about their personal finance. Am I going to be secure with all the things that are happening, the global uncertainty, the current headlines? They're worried about all of that. Add to that, if you are also members of certain communities, you have that extra burden of, do I look like I could be deported?
Oh, wow.
And then if you do DEI work, you're on trial every day.
Nice handout.
So I'll start with the bad news. The data that you're all probably familiar with from Gallup, 77% of the global workforce is disengaged. The cost of the global economy is a whopping $8.9 trillion in lost productivity. That's global. In the US, the news isn't quite as bad. It's only 70% of the US workforce is disengaged, and the cost is only $1 trillion in lost productivity. And frontline managers are the highest among those. 73% of frontline managers, those that are managing the people on the front line, they're disengaged. So, as Sue said, we really need to acknowledge the fact that people need to be led as people, holistically as human beings. And COVID sort of rose that up a little bit in terms of awareness, but now that COVID is in the rearview mirror, it seems like a lot of organizations are not acknowledging it. And so those organizations that do the best job of treating their people as people, showing them respect, allowing them to feel valued in the workplace, those are the ones that are doing not only the best work, but they also feel fulfilled in the workplace. They enjoy it, and then that permeates throughout the organization. So it's bringing it back to the humanity of the workplace, the workforce.
So I hear this all the time, and especially from young people. Those of you in the room who are older, older is however you want to define it. But remember back in the day when you would go to work, nobody wanted to hear about your personal stuff. You know what I'm saying? That, don't bring your personal stuff to work. Well, today, is that the reality that we live in today? Is it? When you're asking people, when you show up and you come in, forget everything else that's going on in your life. You could have children, you could have aging parents, you could have all kinds of things that are going on that impact your work, the work that you do. So my question to you, with AI, with all of the advances in technology, what in the heck is one supposed to do? Are organizations supposed to say, forget about it? Or do you need to be concerned about well-being? And I pose that to you, Bernie. You're the well-being guy. Don't get nervous and start twiddling your fingers. That's not going to work here. You're going to have to give some real answers.
So I believe that everybody is on the same life journey, seeking fulfillment across what I call the 5 life pillars. And the 5 life pillars are health, fitness, career, relationships, and legacy. I believe that everybody, if you have a beating heart, you are seeking fulfillment across those 5 life pillars. So whether an organization is struggling with how to deploy AI or transformation of whatever, doesn't have to be digital transformation, there's lots of different types of transformation. It still comes down to, and Fred, you said it, caring about people and having leaders be self-aware of where they are on that journey across those 5 pillars, because leadership begins with self-awareness. You can't be an effective leader if you don't know yourself as a human being before whatever title is on your business card. And having that self-awareness can then empower you to lead your people through that same lens with the intention of caring for them across those 5 life pillars. Again, health, fitness, career, relationships, and legacy. And I'm reading a few minds. I know some leaders say, well, it's not my responsibility to manage my employees' health. Probably not, but acknowledge it. If an employee is dealing with any kind of a health issue, whether it's theirs or a loved one, do you think it's not going to impact their ability to come to work and be engaged and perform? Of course it is. So having that lens is where it begins.
Thank you, Bernie. Sue, I need to go back to you. I don't know if you've been walking around in the building or if you've paid close attention, but one of the things that's noteworthy about being here at this fabulous facility at Morgan Stanley is I was impressed by the fact that they have diversity and inclusion posted everywhere, and they're not trying to hide it. Do you hear me? If you're out there in the audience and you're not playing on your phone and you hear me, say, hell yeah. Hell yeah. You say it with a little bit more passion. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, thank you very much. Now, Sue, back to you. So, Sue, you are kind of the D&I person up here on this stage. So, talk to me about D&I and the impact that it's having. And if you can make the connection between that and well-being, that would be fabulous.
Absolutely. Add to what you just said.
Yes.
I love DEI posters, but it doesn't end there.
Yes.
It's empty. In fact, the distrust comes from when what you say and what you do not align. So if you have, as a company, if you have posters or value statements, or during orientation, during interview, on your website, you say these beautiful things like we believe in inclusion, we believe in equality, we believe in treating people with common courtesy and respect and all of this, and yet day to day you see things and people are getting away with it, that's your culture. And when they read this and see that, they don't trust you. And if they don't trust you, they're going to slowly start to want to leave. And if they're not leaving, it impacts their well-being.
Yes.
It impacts your well-being because when you're in an environment of distrust, you don't feel comfortable. You feel anxious. That eats away at your well-being because you're constantly wondering, did they mean what they just said? Also, We throw around words like common courtesy, respect, as if it's universal. It so is not. It so is not. What you think is respectful, I may not think is respectful. What you think is courteous, I may not. And we use these statements like if we, I went to this one thing and this person said, DEI, shouldn't we just, doesn't that mean we should all just be kind to each other? I'm like, if it was that easy, right? If it was that easy, right? And because kindness is also not universal. It depends on culture, it depends on personality, it depends on all that. And that's what DEI work is really for. It is to realize that what you need to be treated respectfully may be different.
Yes.
Right? And what you need to feel like you're being treated kindly may be different. And understanding those differences and also realizing as a leader or as a company that what you see and feel at work may not be what others see and feel at work. I am telling you with 100% certainty. You could work next to each other, side by side, same department, cubes right next to each other, and have very different work experiences. You know this is true.
Come on, you gotta be kidding.
It is true. Those of you who are siblings, same parents, same household, same house, did not have same experience, right?
Well,
Same experience.
wait a minute. So here we are, we're in a professional environment, and now you're telling me, and I'm being the devil's advocate for the benefit of the discussion.
Yes.
Not to be, a bad person. Well, it's really not.
We only have an hour.
But my point is, so I'm leading this team, and so now what you're suggesting to me is I've got to be concerned about if there's 6 people on my team, or 10 or 100 of them, I got to figure out each one of them and what's, how they want to be dealt with. I don't have time to do my job. See how I tried to get out of having any accountability? You like that?
I love it. I love it. So the quick answer is you got to make the time.
Oh.
And so those of you who are parents and those of you who have multiple kids, you don't treat both kids, 3 kids, 4 kids the exact the same. Because you're like, oh, Junior's like this, or Susie's like that, or Lucy's like this. We know those persons. You go to a family barbecue, I'm guarantee you don't treat all your family members the same, right? Don't bring this up with that person. Oh, you got to talk about.
Yes.
Same thing with team. Why do we assume that all those personalities disappear? So please don't get me wrong, because as we said at the previous panel, the work's got to get done. You can't coddle people. That's not what we're saying at all. But we have to acknowledge that what motivates Ron may be different than what motivates Roydell. And what motivates Roydell may be very different than what motivates Bernie, right? Same thing with, just like we make physical accommodations, right? If we know there are people on our team who have physical disabilities, right? Should we make sure that the hallways are wider so their wheelchair can pass through? Shouldn't we make sure that we don't do walking meetings, right? And all of us, even if we look able-bodied, we have different types of ways of thinking. We have neurodiversity. We may have different ways of reacting to things, different ways of learning, etc.
Yeah.
So it certainly does not mean everyone gets a blue ribbon or everyone gets a red star or that everyone must be complimented equally. That's not what DEI is. Nor does it mean forgive everyone for every bad experience or performance. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we have to acknowledge that people have different work experiences and you need different things to be successful.
Well, I have to give a little shout out to that. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Bernie, anything that you want to add to what Sue just said? And I have the next question coming for you. So.
Okay, I agree. That was well said, Sue. Thank you. A leader's job is to get his or her people to follow them, to lead the vision. And you touched on culture, Sue, and it doesn't matter if you're a 1,000-person or 10,000 or 100,000-person organization. Culture can be different throughout the organization based on a leader leading their team, the frontline leader. So I want to tell a quick story that I share in my workshop because it's so powerful and it's such a great example of how leaders can lead intentionally with the well-being lens. And for me, it's through the fulfillment lens. And the story goes as follows. It's an analyst who one day let it slip that she wants to someday open her own dance studio. And she let it slip in front of her boss. And internally, she panicked. She said, oh no, I just slipped, I just messed up. And the leader decided to embrace it. And he asked her if she has a business plan, and she didn't. So he offered to coach her to create a business plan. And he offered to coach her to actually realize this dream. So she developed a 3-year business plan to open this dance studio, and her boss was the one coaching her the entire time. 3 years goes by, she realizes the dream. She's about to go leave the organization, open her dance studio. Obviously, there's a succession plan in place because it was all out in the open for the last 3 years. During those 3 years, her performance was not only stellar, she was the most collaborative, she was the most vocal in helping to recruit other people inside the company. Her engagement in the company during those 3 years was at the top of the charts. This is how a leader leads. When a leader understands what their individual people need and want out of life, and then yes, the work has to get done, but do it in a way that also recognizes and values the things that people care about. And it's not overcomplicated, it's not rocket science. It can be simple conversation and one-on-one conversations.
Thank you for that. I think that's good advice. I mean, I can't imagine that being a scenario that would be easy for both parties. First, the courage to bring it up, and secondly, I think you talked about, how you evolved as a leader over a period of time. I think that for a new leader, that might be something that they can't deal with, but for a more seasoned leader who's more experienced and has kind of been in there for a while and doing it, then they can do that kind of stuff. And they can create a win-win. Because at the end of the day, you're chasing what I call discretionary effort. I want to let that sit with you for a moment. Discretionary effort, that means I can come in every day. It's like the people that work here. They can come in every day and do the bare minimum. Get their paycheck, go home, no stress, just come in, do whatever I got to do and leave. But is that going to be enough in today's competitive environment? Is that going to be enough to help the organization move forward if you got everybody operating off of that premise? Hello, folks. You can answer that question if you like.
Hell no.
Oh. Okay, I should have known someone would take me up on that, but I didn't know it was going to be you, but thank you for that.
Yep.
I better move on, because if you're getting a hell no out of her, this could not end well for me. So I want to talk about strategies to drive engagement and performance. Because at the end of the day, if the performance isn't there, there's consequences, right? So you got to have performance, you got to have, and you spoke about engagement. So I'd love to open it up and talk some more about engagement and performance and how we can really try and help our teams be better at those two things. And I don't know whose turn it is, so I'll just throw raw meat out there and let you guys figure it out.
Okay. So I did a research report last year, and there's a couple data points that I want to share with you in the context of this question. So the research report was about fulfillment. That's kind of my jam. And we asked people, if you could only be fulfilled or happy, which one would you choose? Now, we gave them a clear definition of what happiness is. It's an emotion, but it's tied to a circumstance. Fulfillment is tied to achievement and purpose. 79% chose fulfillment. I don't know if that surprises anyone. 79% chose fulfillment. We also asked, are you satisfied in your career? 75% said, yes, I'm satisfied. Several questions later in the survey, we asked, are you fulfilled in your career? 61% said they're fulfilled in their career. So there's a 14-point difference there. Fulfillment is a higher standard. So on the question of performance, when employees are engaged, they perform at a higher level. Public company, Seagate Technology. If you look at their stock price, it's at an all-time high. 2 years ago, 50% of their revenue fell off the charts. They lost 50% of their revenue and they had to downsize 35% of their workforce. During those last 2 years, leadership engaged with people face to face and had real human conversations, one of those ask me anything kind of conversations. People loved it. They felt valued and seen and respected, and they engaged. You know, no company reaches an all-time high in their stock price if their employees are not engaged and performing at their highest level. So it's a very clear formula. When employees are fulfilled, they're engaged. When they're engaged, they perform better. It's not rocket science.
I'm gonna, since you covered what the organizations and sort of leaders can do, let me cover what you can do for yourself. I would say, you know, statistically, I'm afraid the unemployment rate for Black and brown folks is at an all-time high. It's for Black employees, it's 7% unemployment. For white Caucasian employees, it's 3.7. And a lot of that is also impacted by the federal government,
Yes.
The workforce being reduced and all of that. And I bring up that statistic because, and every day I seem to get a call from someone who got laid off from somewhere. When we read that or hear that or witness that, we get a little afraid. And when we get a little afraid, we sort of don't want to be visible at work. And I'm here to tell you, you're not safe whether you're quiet or not quiet. I'm going to say that again. You're not safe if you're quiet or if you actually say stuff. So if you're not safe either way, what are you going to choose? Because if you're quiet, they think you're not necessary. If you speak too loudly, they think you're a troublemaker, right? I do believe there's a middle ground. So just remember, we're not safe. So how can you advocate for yourself? Because one of the best ways to create safety is to actually perform better, right? And be happier, ironically. Then they want to keep you. So if you want to be happier and more productive at work, start to vocalize what you need to do that. Say, Ron, I would love to get additional training. I want to be a better presenter. Because you know those town hall meetings that I run for you? I want to get even better at that for you and convey your message that much more accurately. I would love to take a class on public speaking. You in? Can we do that this year? Not this? How about next year? You know that learning manual you gave me to do this bookkeeping? I learn better when I see someone demonstrate it for me. Is there someone you could point me to that will help me learn that better, right? Start to advocate for yourself. Instead of, let me put this way, why complain without a request? That's right. Why complain without a request? So instead of saying, I'm not happy here, say, you know what would make me happier is if I got an opportunity to be more visible with my career. Do you know what would make me more motivated is if I could get that new laptop that I desperately need to be able to function better. Do you know what would make me more engaged? In other words, why complain without a request? So they may not know. Just like we were talking, the leader may not know everything there is to know about you as a team member. Why not fill it in for them? Or say, you know what? I know that 5 years ago you thought I really liked to do this. That was 5 years ago. I don't like to do that anymore, right? So ask for something. Gen Zs, we kind of assume Gen Zs are very good at this. They also suffer too, right? They see what you do. So notice there's a difference between request and demand. Maybe we don't want to demand just yet, but at least request. And then if you get what you need, then you feel more fulfilled, then you perform better, and guess what? You're safer. You with me? Okay.
I just want to make one quick comment on that.
Yes.
And I know that somebody's going to show up and start doing this or telling me something like, hurry up. But one of the things is people have lost their ability to do their own branding. You have to brand yourself. You can brand yourself as the quiet person that just goes about doing your work. You could brand yourself as a person who is proactive, who's saying, here are the developmental things that I need. So it's a choice that a person has to make. And today, your personal branding is really imperative if you're an early career person that's trying to climb whatever ladder you're going to climb. The coaches in the room, I think I've talked to most of the people in here that are in coaching. Yeah, I got you, and wherever the other coaches are, there's another one. People need, I would suppose that you teach people or help them understand how to best position themselves for whatever they're trying to do in their career. Would that be accurate? So, and the earlier people know how to do that, the better they are. They can't wait until they get to my age to do it. It's too damn late. You know, I am who I am. I'm going to be criticized and don't be laughing at me because I'm old. We have time for questions. Let's just transition right away to questions. And there better be some damn questions come from the audience for a thing that I moderate, because I will come and bring the mic to you.
While they do that, may I quickly add about the brand?
You don't have to ask me for permission. Just do your thing.
If you don't manage your brand, someone else will
Yes.
manage your brand for you.
Yes.
You already have a brand. I've been in talent management. Your career
Yeah.
is talked about you without you in the room. You all already have a
Yeah.
brand. Might as well have some say, eh?
Yeah. Whether you want it or, yeah.
Quick additional
Right.
comment on that. Some people don't like the word brand
I know.
when it's associated with themselves, so
Right.
just replace it with the word reputation. What's
Image.
your reputation?
Right,
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, we have, go right ahead. Your name, sir?
Hello. My name is Matthew Scott.
You're going to have to speak up. We can't hear a damn word you're saying.
My name is Matthew Scott.
There you go.
You just mentioned the whole idea of speaking up or not speaking up. Okay, once you get to be in your 50s, okay, how do you determine the right thing to do so that you can actually stay in a company? Because a lot of,
Yes.
that's when you start to get cut, because
Yes.
you're making a lot of money, and you know they figure, okay, they get somebody younger to do what you do, etc. So can you give some idea in terms of what you can do as an employee to make sure that you are doing the right thing so that you can still contribute to the company and continue to grow your career?
My colleagues will be more than happy to jump right on that.
You got him with the 50.
Yeah, when you said the 50, I was like, I'm out. Please.
You want to go or you want me to go?
Well, I'll open up by saying that there is an element of that ageism, which is what you're
Yeah.
describing, that is not only very real, but there's an element of it also that is very political. Let's just call a spade a spade. And inside any organization, there's going to be a political aspect associated with it. So aligning with the right people is certainly one thing to be considering. And then also, from a skill standpoint, from a special project standpoint, from a strategic direction of the business standpoint, what are the things that you can be doing that may not be in the specific lane that you're in right now? Maybe they're over here, but you can identify them as being strategic, important, valuable, recognizable, all of those ubbles, that you can go say, hey, I want to go do that, or I'll do that as a side project that can make you more valuable. Because again, ageism is a real thing, and even with all that, even if you do all that, as Sue said, you still may not be safe.
Yeah. And thank you for having the courage to putting it on the table, because it's real. I mean, it's not some hypothetical. This is a real thing that's happening to people right now. So thank you for that.
May I also offer up some actual words you can use? Because I thought I also heard that in your question. So I always say, use the current culture to change the culture. Use the current culture to change the culture. What I mean by that is, when we visit our in-laws' family for the first time, we sort of follow their rules, right? That may not be the time to kind of say, well, this is how I do it, right? But if they take off their shoes in their house, you take off your shoes in that house, right? And then over time, you may say, actually, this makes me uncomfortable. Is there something we can do about it? So my point is, use the current culture to change the culture. So see how your manager, supervisor, leader likes to be communicated to, and communicate it that way. So if you notice that your boss loves to communicate by email, put the request in by email. If they seem to reward people who speak up at meetings, speak up at the meetings. If you need to, so follow whatever seems to be the way that things are done to also make your request. Because I completely understand the fear, right? Do that. And then also, when in doubt, asking things in a form of a question is always helpful. So, something like, I really want to stay relevant in this industry.
there you
What
go.
are some conferences you recommend for me that I could go to? I would love to be involved with that project. What do you think I have to do that? So in other words, because the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people, I'll speak for myself, as a person of color and as a woman, I assume the more degrees and the more work I do, they just will recognize me and you, and I know that's not true. So we got to speak up and say, I just got my master's, I really want to put it into practice. What are some things that I could take on for you? And so I would say, use the current culture to make the demands for you, and then form things in a form of a question as much as you possibly can. And wait for an answer. Don't go, did you want to just think about it? Okay, that's fine. Oh, you can't do it. Don't get comfortable with silence. Say, I really want to, I want to stay on top of this industry. What conferences do you recommend I attend?
Yeah.
Wait for it.
Can I add one
Hope
thing?
that's helpful.
We have
Yeah,
time for one
please.
thing?
But be quick about it, because
Yeah,
I
so
know that
the-
somebody's
more
going to
This is
show up.
advice that's often given to young people just entering the workforce, but I think it's limiting to limit this advice just to young people entering the workforce. I think it speaks to also your question, the over 50 crowd, and it's the following. Go to your boss or a leader in the organization, and if you know what part of their job they hate doing, volunteer to do it.
That's sound advice.
I wanted to also, the answers that you've gotten in terms of what could be done, it sounds like to me those are for persons that are still employed. But if you're 50 and you're not employed, that's a whole nother game. So I don't know if you had a follow-up question or you're going to surrender the mic to someone else.
No, I'll surrender with someone else. We could talk about that offline.
No, I don't know if there's,
talk about it.
yeah, that would be good. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah. I was worried about you when you came in because you looked a little suspicious, or as the kids say today, sus.
Yes, good morning. My name is Dion Edwards, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Business Development at Blue Kazi. So my question is, I grew up in the military, 22 years military service, so I understand early that engaging the force you influence, people you lead, is very important, right?
Yeah.
But in the advance of technology and the way the workforce and the work environment has shifted, what are some of the techniques now you use to understand the people you serve as a leader and how to effectively serve them so that you get the best out of them?
I'll give this one a go because this kind of is one of my It's kind of one of my passions. Every 30 days, and I have to kind of give you a little bit of context. I work with a tremendous amount of entrepreneurs, consultants, independent consultants. And so the way we try to work is I look for people that have certain skill sets and bring them in as part of the team. Now, there's things that they got to do before they can become part of the team. And then what I do is every 30 days, I have a one-on-one with them. I want to know what's bugging them, what new ideas that they have, because I want to move with them in terms of how they see the world. Because when you're leading an organization in an environment that is as dynamic as it is today, where every day something changes that's significant, either politically, technology-wise, employee-wise, there's change, never-ending change. And you can't wait 6 months and do a performance review and find out. You better damn well know every 30 days to 60 days what the hell is going on. And you can't see everything from up here. Hello? Are you still with me? Hell yeah. I love this audience. They'll go with hell yeah in a minute. Okay. But did that kind of give you at least a little bit of an answer? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And in the military, I've noticed something about people that come out of the military. You got to have it like that. If you don't, because I want to make sure I answered it so that it's comfortable for your military background rather than the consulting world where we just like, we just ramble on and on and on. You're good?
Yes, I
But then
appreciate
give the damn mic to somebody else. You're still standing there?
I do want to. The other thing I would just add to that is in today's world, your leader may also get laid off.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So make sure you're not just visible in your good work with your direct manager, that you're visible in the organization
that's a
in
great
your good
point.
work.
Great point. Hey, we got time for one more, or do we? Yeah, we got time for more. There are some people I want to call because of the looks on your faces. We got your name, ma'am?
Good morning. I'm Sonia Aline with Storytellers Magic. Thank you for the panel. Sue, I had a question directly for you. You had talked about the importance of context. And if you could go into that a little bit more. That was a huge lesson for me in my last position, understanding you can say we want to give exceptional service or we're doing exceptional leadership. But to your point, exceptional for McDonald's is different for exceptional for a Maison Passerelle, right? And so if you could talk a little bit about that, about what that means in terms of getting your team on point or getting an organization on point to understand the importance of context in these terms that we use to motivate our teams.
I would say the quickest word is clarity. Oh, where did Sonia go? Clarity. Oh, I looked up and she was gone. No.
I guess
I love that you talk directly to me. That's right. Okay.
I always like to think a little bit because I don't want to just give generic answers. So I would say clarity is key.
You know, when we have children, we say play nice, as if in the playground, the teachers say play nice. And you all remember, every kid has a different interpretation of what play nice means. And then you're like, you see some kid shove another kid, you're like, play nice. And they're like, I am playing nice. And so I would say clarity. So let me give you an example. As a teacher, play nice. And what I mean by that is no shoving, no pushing.
No kicking, no swearing, no volume, right? Same thing at the workplace. I want us to deliver exceptional service. What I mean by that is service level, 24-hour response, error-free memo, whatever it is, list it. As a team, I want us to be respectful to each other. What I mean by that is when we tell jokes or just want to have fun, make sure that it's not offensive to people. Let's make sure that when we, do motivation events, that it is in fact accessible by everyone, physically, dietarily, interest, family dynamic-wise. So when I say respectful, this is what I mean. So listing it out and actually listing. So I would also say, when you list, you want to whittle it down to 3 to 5. People can't handle 10,
Yeah.
but you can't just say 1 because of the nuance of it all. So say, when I say treat each other respectfully, this is what I mean, and actually list it out.
And if on that point,
Yes.
sometimes you can ask a person,
Yeah.
how does being respectful to you, what does it mean to you? Because they may be able to articulate it for you as well. Because like Sue is saying, it's a gazillion different interpretations. Treating me well is making sure I get some food, I got a cold beer once a week, I don't need much, but I need those things. And then I'm happy, I'll work for you. And, obviously some compensation, but,
Yeah, context.
let's not forget that.
Yeah, context is so important because, and I would agree, also ask what the person would like or need.
Yeah.
Because some may say, oh, I want more, time with
Yeah.
Ron, one-on-one, CEO, and some may be like, that petrifies me.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a face-to-face conversation. And so just making that assumption, so ask and say, what would motivate
Yeah.
you? What is it that you need to be successful? And my favorite, what barriers
Yes,
can I remove for you
yes.
so that you could be successful?
And that's what I was trying to get at when I was talking about the one-on-ones.
Right.
It's hard. There are some people that it takes all the energy they can muster to speak up in a group. And there are other people that they need one-on-one. So you got to figure out what their communication style is as well as where they like to be communicated with. Somebody said it earlier today, praise in public, give feedback in private. And if you follow that rule, you'll do fine.
Sonia, Sue opened her response by using the word clarity. And I want to put an exclamation point on that because too often leaders are not providing clarity for their team. And one simple way to think about clarity is addressing the question, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we changing direction? Why are we bringing on this supplier instead of this supplier? Why are we reducing the budget? Why? Answer the question why as clearly as possible
Yeah.
so that everybody can nod their head and say, I don't agree, but I understand. That's what you want. Whether or not they agree, that's not in play here. What's in play is we have to go do that thing over there. Do we understand why and how we're going to do it? Yes, we do. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's
that
an
answer your
important
question?
caveat.
Good. Thank you. All right, I need another question from the audience to see if my colleagues can handle those questions or not. Remember, I'm the moderator. I don't have to answer the questions, so I'll bring them on. As many questions. Yes.
Yes.
Can everybody hear her on this side? Okay.
So the CEOs that I work with, again, you explained how we can't ignore all of the things that are going on in our lives,
Right.
right? Because they're happening.
Yes.
So what do you say about a CEO who brings you into the meeting and says, "Whew, I got a headache today. These bills are coming in. Listen, y'all are killing me. And I'm losing money here today, so what are we gonna do?" And then you have $1 million accounts, and they want their team to be positive in work. So if my leader is raggedy, how I'm supposed to be top? But again, in coaching these people, it becomes very difficult because they have the mirrors right there. They
Right.
just don't see it.
Right.
And so that's why a lot of small businesses don't make it to that second year.
Right.
So in coaching them, what is your advice that you would give them?
Well, So you're coaching a CEO one-on-one?
Yes.
Okay. And using that scenario that that hypothetical scenario where they come into the meeting and they behave that way, I would begin by asking them how they think they are perceived. And instead of telling them, asking them, and continue to kind of probe deeper so that they come on their own to the understanding that that approach is working against them. Because if I'm in your shoes, I'm thinking, I'm not going to convince this CEO that their approach is wrong. I want to lead the CEO in conversation to come to that conclusion on their own. And I would ask them those questions about, how do you think your people are receiving you? And just continue to peel back the layers on that until they come to that understanding. It comes down to, again, I've said a few times here, that human element. If they are not self-aware, I said that earlier, right? Whether you're a CEO, you're a frontline leader, you need to be self-aware. And the scenario you just explained, that individual is not self-aware of how they're being perceived. So my objective would be to create that self-awareness by asking the questions that will get them there.
I ask everybody, whether you're a CEO or a frontline worker, do you want people to work with you or around you? Do you want people to work with you or around you? If you are being managed, if people are working around you, then you are the problem, right? You are the problem. And so I would, in addition to what Bernie just said, and say, do you want people to work with you or around you? That's number one. I'll also take it from, if you work for a CEO who's like that, I know we're all afraid of losing our jobs, and that's a real fear. But if you have a CEO who is just constantly down and it's making you miserable, you don't have to tell anyone. But I say on weekends, look for a new job. You have to have don't forget, organizations aren't loyal to you.
Right.
Why put your loyalty in a place that doesn't deserve that loyalty? So work as you normally would. You do everything you're supposed to do. Absolutely. If they say you want to get promoted, you say yes, all of that. But then if your CEO is that miserable and it's painful to be around and they don't seem to be getting it, then you can't change some. Don't wait for someone else to change. You may have to just kind of slowly back away. Use this network that you have right here. All I see is friendly faces right now. All I see is just wonderful friendly faces say, you know what, if you have any network for me, I would love to have an exit strategy eventually. And slowly try to figure out when you could leave. Because rather you do that than you stick in a place where you're really miserable and then eventually you'll be made to leave, right? So when you coach CEOs, you say you're gonna lose your good people. They're not gonna tell you they're leaving because of you, but that's why they're leaving.
I will give you a recent event. So we're in September right now? Mm-hmm. So I think it was at the end of the first half. I looked at our business and I looked at, the forecast, and I was like, I was by myself when I saw it, and I was like, this ain't good. This is really, really bad. And then my first reaction was, I need to call a meeting. Mm. And then I started to think to myself, what am I going to say? How bad everything is, and then mess up whatever positive. I need to stand up on this, because whatever positives that were there, what you described just destroyed whatever, relationships, trust had been built up over the years, because the person didn't recognize that, spewing that all out, the negative impact of that. So what I had to do is I had to talk to someone that I trust, that I could say, hey, here's what it's looking like. Here's what I'm thinking about telling the team. And they were like, if you tell them that, you're never going to get out of the hole. You can't go and tell people stuff like that, because that's not their responsibility. You're the CEO. Figure it out. I almost cursed. But I didn't. I didn't. There's no recordings of me cursing in public. But you get the point of what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm not kidding. I'm being serious about that. Sometimes people can't handle the truth. But you can give it to them, and you can give them feedback, or you can ask them, hey, here's our situation. We're not going to abandon ship, but let's come together and figure out how we're going to make these numbers up. And people they'll embrace that. They'll get around that. I've not lied to them, but I didn't create this situation where people are leaping off the boat and trying to survive. Does that make sense? I feel strongly about this. I wouldn't have stood up and exerted the energy if I didn't feel strongly about it. What does that mean? Like, and I'm from Texas. When you do something like that, that means you're about to rope something.
Yeah, your emotion is not other people's trouble to
Right.
bear. Your emotions is not your responsibility to bear. Their emotions are not your responsibility to bear.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Bernie, any snip? Don't do that yet, please. Don't. They got the big head already. Don't give them anything else.
There's one point I want to make. I'm not sure that it addresses a specific question, but it's been in my head. I've said a few times the importance of self-awareness from a leadership standpoint. And I think one of the ways that leaders can lead their people through self-awareness is by sharing a little bit of their own humanity. And for some people it's really hard, and some people it's really easy. So I'll speak to both, although I'll keep it brief. It's just sharing a little bit about who you are with your people, whether it's in a team environment where you have to be very discreet and choose your words carefully because you don't want TMI, you don't want to give too much information, or information that might, as Sue said earlier, you might not think is anything but could offend someone even though you may not intend it that way. But just let your people know who you are as a human being. Not only does that humanize you with them, but it also makes it safe for them to open up to you a little bit. And that little opening can be a big opening in terms of one-on-one communication and relationship building between a leader and a subordinate that can have a big impact on their engagement and ultimately their performance and retention.
Thank you. I wanted to say this. I wanted to thank the audience for your level of participation, because people were engaged, and that's an important thing, because this is a sharing and learning environment for all of us. Hopefully you got something out of the time that we spent together today, because to me that's more important than anything else that takes place here. And building those new relationships and bonds where you can call up somebody and say, hey, I'm dealing with this problem, what do you think? Other than that, we're out of here, so thank you.